Wisconsin 33, Northwestern 24, Mark Rogers TV with instant analysis. If you're stumbling upon my YouTube channel for the first time, we provide college football analysis 24/7, 365 with not just myself, but from the best bloggers and broadcasters in college football. So please subscribe and leave your comments. Badgers move on to 5-0. The Wildcats now 2-2 with the loss, and let's look at it right here. So keep in mind that even though Wisconsin's been significantly a better football program over the last 10 to 12 to 15 years, Northwestern has won 6 of the last 11 meetings entering 2017. Northwestern, 87 wins over that span. Wisconsin with 36 more wins as a program. Again, it hasn't been mammoth, but Wisconsin has been the class of the Big Ten West and a much better program than Northwestern. But the Wildcats have had their number to a certain extent. 2 of the last 3, 6 of the last 11. Much made during the broadcast of Clayton Thorson and Alex Hornibrook as NFL prospects. They have work to do, each one of them, but certainly they bring different skill sets. And Hornibrook, obviously, the left-handed thrower, and a number of interesting observations from Brock Heward and time that they spent together in talking about left-handed quarterback play. All right, the Wisconsin offensive line right out of the gate, despite over the last few years not being quite as dominant as they had been and not having quite the NFL prospects and those four-year starters that grow up together, build the chemistry together, and become a cohesive, massive, dominant unit together, still a force to be reckoned with. The Wisconsin offensive line for the second consecutive year has no senior starters, but still was clearly the dominant force in the matchup with the Northwestern defensive line. Alex Hornibrook, for the most part, had time to throw, and he hit downfield passes. So if you compare the passing games and the effectiveness, Thorson completes more, but they're underneath. They don't mean much. He hit on 29 of 45 passes, so 29 completions, producing 219 passing yards. Hornibrook, on the other hand, 11 of 20, so only 11 completions, completing, though, for 197 yards. A number of downfield throws, as we will discuss right here. Pat Fitzgerald didn't feel confident in his field goal kicker, freshman Charlie Kubander, from hitting from distance, so he made a couple of different type calls and decisions during the first half of this game in which you would normally go to the field goal unit, but he didn't feel confident. I also believe that he felt that he needed to take advantage of scoring opportunities. It was quickly determined in this game who was more physically dominant in the game, although Northwestern certainly made it a game down the stretch. So in particular, on a 4th and 9 for Northwestern, they went for it, 4th and 9 at the Wisconsin 30 instead of trying the 47-yard field goal, and Thorson was picked off by Natrell Patterson, who would factor most heavily into the game later during this one in Madison. The two Miller brothers started to provide some push in the pocket and give Northwestern a chance defensively. Again, Northwestern's pass rush has been abysmal through the first 4 games of the season. In particular, not being able to affect Daniel Jones of Duke in that 24-point loss. But the Miller brothers, Alex and Dammed Up, they provided some pass rush, and Northwestern's defensive line started to make a push and give Hornibrook some problems and force him into some issues. Late in the first half, freshman J.R. Pace with an interception at the Wisconsin 45. I wish Northwestern would use Garrett Dickerson more heavily in the offense. Here is the lone guy that they have on the outside. No, he's not a burner by any stretch. He plays the super back position, but he is the best combination of size and speed and athleticism, breaking tackles in the secondary, and had 9 catches a couple weeks ago against Bowling Green. They need to use Garrett Dickerson because the issue with Northwestern, they don't have an extremely good offensive line. They've got a marginal offensive line with a running back in Justin Jackson, who's one of the 10 to 15 best in college football, but he's not a dynamic guy that can break the home run. They have no outside threats at the wide receiver position, but they have a lot of workmanlike, sizable targets, reliable hands at tight end, and that's their passing game. So once they get shut down like they did in this game against the Wisconsin Badgers to the tune of, let's say, Justin Jackson, 9 carries for 25 yards, Jeremy Larkin, 7 carries for 37 yards. So that's 2.8 for their leading rusher, who got close to the Northwestern rushing record for a career, but he's going to have to wait another week at least to break that record. So Northwestern has nowhere to go in its offense. It's all on Thorson. It's all on the superbacks and tight ends to break big plays, because they're not going to budge the Wisconsin front seven, and they have no speed threats on the outside. And that was the tale of this game. Northwestern did well to stay in it until the final minute of play. All right. They did go play action with a touchdown to Green, his first touchdown reception. It was 10-7 Northwestern late in the first half, and they closed out the first half with that 10-7 lead, much of playing field position and getting the turnovers off Hornibrook and the opening possession from Wisconsin as well. Late in the first half, Hornibrook throws the interception to Godwin Iwebuike at the Northwestern 28. It's Iwebuike's 6th career pick. He's a future NFL player. Thorson gets the football at the 28. They've got plenty of time with almost 2 minutes to play. Thorson throws 3 horrible throws. They're not bad decisions. He went to the right guy. Horrible throws. Gives it back to Wisconsin. The Badgers didn't budge, though, and it was 10-7 at half. Okay, Hornibrook opens up the second half with a bomb to Quintez Cephas. Then Jonathan Taylor takes it from there, walks in for the touchdowns. It's 14-10. And through the third quarter and most of the fourth quarter, Wisconsin was the much better team because of what we talked about. They have a dominant front seven. They have a much better offensive line that's going to dominate a team like Northwestern on that side of the ball. And then Hornibrook was setting up the play action. And even though 11 for 20 is pedestrian, a $197 out of those plays is meaningful pass play, stretching the defense and converting on those play action passes. Danny Davis came into this game. 3 catches for 102 yards, just 3 receptions in 4 games for Wisconsin. He was the 31st rated wide receiver coming out of high school, according to 247 Sports out of Springfield, Ohio. And based on his play today against Northwestern, Danny Davis needs to get the football more. He broke tackles that led to a touchdown, set up a 1st and goal off a 3rd and long play in which he had to break a couple tackles. Later in the day, off play action, Davis for the touchdown to make it 21-10. A beautiful connection between Hornibrook off the play action and off the blitz. 3rd and long, hits Davis and converts it. And Wisconsin, at that point, had outscored its opponents this season in the second half 82-0. Defensive coordinator Jim Leonard makes the statement that he doesn't like the offense to dictate to his defense how he's going to play defense, and he certainly came after Northwestern and didn't allow them to dictate this game whatsoever. No vertical passing game, couldn't run it with Justin Jackson, only 28 yards, and Dakota Dixon at safety is a tremendous player. You've got Chris Orr, you've got TJ Edwards, exceptional players. Dakota Dixon with the safety himself on the final last gasp for Northwestern. So despite this dominance in the second and especially third quarter and halfway through the fourth quarter for the Badgers, and the A.J. Taylor on the perfect pitch and catch on a 3rd and 11 blitz play in which Wisconsin beat Northwestern to make it a 24-10 game, and then the pick by Jamerson, Patterson, Natrell Patterson, who had the earlier interception. He comes back with a pick 6, and it looked like it was all said and done at 31-10. Northwestern drives the field 75 yards for the touchdown in 9 plays very efficiently, get the 3 and out when Wisconsin chose to pass rather than try to run it and run out the clock. Northwestern turns them over, gets the ball right back, drives for the next touchdown. Suddenly it's a 31-24 game, and percentage-wise, there was little hopes of pulling off the victory in the comeback fashion. 31-24, Northwestern gets the ball back at its own 10. but they throw it out for the first down. But then Thorson gets sacked in the end zone by Dakota Dixon to seal it at 33-24. So for Wisconsin, they are who we think they are. To steal one from Dennis Green. Big offensive line, not quite as dominant as it's been in the past. They don't have the running back. Yes, Jonathan Taylor's a good one, 90 yards rushing today. Not as good as the Monte Balls of the past, and we could go on. We saw Corey Clement just last week do damage in the NFL. But Alex Hornibrook has the potential, has the possibility of being one of the better Wisconsin quarterbacks outside the one season from Russell Wilson in 2011. And Wisconsin's defense is Wisconsin's defense. It's amazing how even with the loss of defensive coordinators, Wilcox and Aranda, and now Jim Leonard in place, that the Wisconsin style of defense remains the same. The front seven's tremendous. The back four is limited in terms of athletic ability, but they play the Wisconsin brand of football well. And it's one of the 10 or 15 best defenses in college football, and it typically is and has been during this 10 to 15-year stretch in which they win 9 to 12 games each and every year. All right, Wisconsin tees up against Nebraska on the road in Lincoln. The Huskers showed some life against Illinois, dominating the Illini in the second half to pull away 28-6. If Tanner Lee can throw it to the right guys in the right red and white shirts, the Huskers have a prayer at home, but Wisconsin, the much better team, now at 5-0. Northwestern with a very difficult task against Penn State next week. The Wildcats fall to 2-2. Your thoughts on Northwestern and Wisconsin, the rest of the Big Ten, the rest of the nation. We invite your comments and try to get back to as many as possible. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for the best in college football coverage right here on Mark Rogers TV.